Sorry for interruption. Please repeat. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namah. Hare Krishna. So welcome you all. आप सभी का स्वागत है. So if you remember, what was the chapter we discussed last time? Fifth chapter. It was called Cause of All Causes. Cause of all causes. And Brahmaji is speaking to Naradji. And if you go back, the question was asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami. And the question was how this material creation, how the creation happens. Prabhu, please give me off a chair. Yeah. Yeah. So how the creation happens. So that was question was asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami. And then Shukdev Goswami then starts speaking. He says the same question was asked by Naradji from his father Brahmaji. And I'm going to speak the same what was spoken by Brahmaji to Naradji. Yeah. So that was it. And then Brahmaji starts speaking to Naradji, or Shukdevji starts speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, what was spoken by Brahma to Naradji. And then the chapter was titled Cause of All Causes. And so before Brahmaji starts speaking, Naradji had many questions to Brahmaji, and he asked 6 questions. He asked 6 questions to Brahmaji, and those 6 questions were, what is this creation? We see things around us. So it was an obvious question. Yad Rupam. What is the swarup of this creation? Right? Yad Adhisthanam. What is the Adhar? What is the support for this creation? Who is supporting this? Yeah. And then how it gets created. Right? Then Yat Samstham. How it gets destroyed. When we die, our body is taken to the crematorium. That is not the end of the creation. He is talking about the whole universe. When the pralaya happens, when the pralaya happens, then what happens? Mahapralaya. One pralaya happens when Brahmaji goes to sleep. Another Mahapralaya happens when Brahmaji's lifespan also ends. When Brahmaji completes his 100 years, then complete devastation happens. Then what happens? So like this, he asked 6 questions, Naradji to Brahmaji. And Naradji said to Brahmaji that I think you are the supreme one because I don't see anyone beyond. So that was the question asked by Naradji, and Brahmaji then answered his questions. So we will cover that. And today's chapter is 6th chapter, which is titled Puruṣa-sūkta Confirmed. Very interesting. But we will discuss why Prabhupada has titled this chapter Puruṣa-sūkta Confirmed. In South India, they recite these prayers every day. Yeah. Om Sahasra. The Purusha who has Sahasra Shirsha. Yeah. So they recite these prayers. This is from Rig Veda. So we'll discuss that. Let's do Mangalacharan and then we will discuss the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvita Tam Sajivam Savadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubha Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhuter Mahadbhir Yaima Puro Vibho Nirmaya Shete Yadamosha Purusha Bhumte Gunansho Dashasho Dashatmakam Solanka Srishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satata Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Loka Rishi Deva Janma Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janma Prasannam. Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Maharaj. Aapka, we are very grateful to you. Please pray that we are truly able to glorify Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. May the right words come at the right time. Let's please pray for each other. Hare Krishna. So, we did chapter 2.5 last time, but we will do a slight revision through this. And then we'll link up with today's chapter. This is very important for us to. Is it working? Okay, it's working now. So chapter 5, the cause of all causes, as I said. So Naradji is speaking to Brahmaji, his father, and he asked 6 questions. He had some convictions and he also had some doubts. He asked from Brahmaji. Then Brahmaji clarified his doubts. Okay? And then Brahmaji answered those 3 questions. So in total, there are 6 questions and they are answered in these 3 chapters, 5, 6, and 7. We discussed 5 last time. We're going to do chapter 6 today. These 2 are interrelated and these 2 chapters nicely ties into what we discussed yesterday on Shri Balram Purnima. You know, we discussed how Lord Balram, he expands himself in 5 forms. The Purusha avatars. Who remember those? What are those 4 Purusha avatars?
Mahasankarshan.
Sankarshan.
Yeah.
And
Pradyumna,
Anirudh, and Vasudeva.
So it starts with Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anirudh. So these are called quadruple expansions. Yeah. So first expansion is Balaramji. Yeah. Sarvavatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan, Tanara Dvitiya Deha, Shri Balaram. So Shri Balaram is the second, right? And Ekai Swarup Donara, Bhind Matra Kaya. Ek Swarup, right? One is white complexion, one is Shyam Sundar. That's all, right? So Balramji expands first expansion, then Balramji expands into first quadruple expansion, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh. And then from that Sankarshan, there is another quadruple expansion, Vasudev, Mahasankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anirudh. Then from Mahasankarshan comes Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu comes, no, sorry, from Mahasankarshan comes Mahavishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Not Shirodakshaya Vishnu, Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Very good. So you all remember. Very good, very good. Yes. Karanodakshaya Vishnu or Mahavishnu. Then from Karanodakshaya Vishnu, the expansion is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu. And that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he enters each universe. Right? And that's where this creation ties up into that. So last time we discussed how this whole creation happens. So what happens is Naraji goes to Brahmaji one day and he asks 6 questions from Brahmaji. And these were the 6 questions that he asked. He says, Yad Rupam, the characteristics of the universe, this universe that we are living. So it is not limited to the Glenfield or Macquarie Field or Holsworthy or Sydney. Once Srila Prabhupada was talking to one of his disciples, and there was a misunderstanding, and that disciple was very dear to Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada wanted to put a point across. So Srila Prabhupada started explaining. He said there is a big universe. In that big universe, there are many millions of planets. And one of those planets is planet Earth. And in that planet Earth, there are then he described, those many 7 oceans. Yeah? So there are these oceans. Then he says in those there are 7 dweep or mahadweeps, as we say. The whole earth is divided. And then he says in that one of the like America, South America, Africa, Europe. So like this, he said there are these continents. And out of these continents, Prabhupada said, there is one America is one of the continent in itself. And in America, he said there is a big country. In that America country, there are so many counties, states. There are so many states in that one of the state, whatever the state name was. And in that state, Srila Prabhupada said, there are so many cities. And in out of those cities, there is this one city, like your city, Sydney. And in that one city, he says there are so many districts, like Campbelltown, Macquarie, Campbelltown, Bankstown, North Sydney, etc. So many districts. And in those districts, there is one town. You can say Campbelltown. So one of those is Campbelltown. Now within Campbelltown, he's saying there is one place called Macquarie Fields. In Macquarie Fields, there are so many streets. In Macquarie Fields, there are so many streets, and one of the streets name in Macquarie Fields is Adrian Street. And on Adrian Street, there is a house number called 89. And in that house, the devotees are assembling and they are offering the praise to the Supreme Lord. But among those devotees, there is one person sitting there who thinks himself to be bigger than everyone, whose ego is bigger than everyone. And as Prabhupada said that, so this person, he was looking for a corner to, where to hide. So he showed him his position. His ego is so high. That person's ego is, he thinks himself to be bigger than everyone. But in the bigger scheme of things, we are nowhere. So this is how, if we look at it, then we understand what is our position. What are we going to take with us? So that sometimes it's very important to understand, very important to think about it. And when we go further, remember how last time we discussed there are 23 elements. And then when Garbhodakshaya Vishnu looks at and those elements get combined, it will come. But some good realization will come out of it. So Naraji is asking Yad Rupam, characteristics of the universe. Yad Adhisthanam, what is the shelter? Who is holding this universe? Once again, we say, Prime Minister, they say, oh, I'm running this country, but somebody beyond that. Yata Sristam, how is this created? What is the process of creation? Yeah. Yat Samstam, after the annihilation, after the destruction, where does it go? What happens? What is the resting place? Yat Param, what it depends on, this universe. Yat Cha, and what is it composed of? What are the ingredients of this universe? So like this, Naraji asked 6 questions. And then Narad thinking of Brahmaji. Naradji telling to Brahmaji, you are a Bhut Bhavan Purvaja. You are the, everybody has come from you. That's how Naradji was thinking. Right? He said, everybody is born from you and you are the first one. There was no one before you. That's how Naradji was thinking of Brahmaji. And he says, you are independent. You do things independently. There is no one to control you. He's thinking like that. And you are self-sufficient. And he gives an analogy like spider. And Brahmaji gives the same analogy in 9th canto when he is glorifying the Supreme Lord, that you are like a spider. Not like a spider, but the analogy is, how spider, he creates a web, cobweb, spider web. From how he creates the spider? From his saliva. He creates from his own saliva, then he moves around into that spider net without getting entangled, and then he also destroys that spider net himself. So he works independently, doesn't need any support. He doesn't get entangled into its net, but other insects get entangled into that net. Like us, we got entangled into this world. But the Supreme Lord, he's aloof from all of this. So this is how Naradji is thinking of Brahmaji, and he's telling to Brahmaji that you are independent. And I know no other source for the creation, superior, medium, or inferior, but I can't think of anyone else who can be described by words, who can be visualized. You are the only one who creates, in my opinion. That's what Naradji was thinking. But then he says, I see you performing so many austerities. That gives me doubt. Parashankam. Because what is Brahmaji doing? He's always meditating on something. He's always praying. So he's asking, that only one doubt I have is that who are you trying to please? If you are the superior, you have the everything, then why do you have to pray? I tell you one story. My grandfather, he used to tell us this story very often. And because they were farmers, and so he would tell us that they were so much reliant on the Ram, because they will say Ram. Even the rain, they will say Ram. So he would say because they have faced drought, they had faced floods. So when drought comes, all the crop will get destroyed. When the flood comes, all the crop will get destroyed. They hadn't seen a rupee coin. For them, seeing a rupee coin was a big thing, because they used to do barter. You grow the crop, I give you my crop, you give me your crop, that's it. Getting 1 rupee, it's like big thing. So he would tell us that they will always depend on the Ram. They will always look up and say, whatever, Jo Ram karega, wo achha hi karega. That's how they used to say. So he was telling once Akbar, the King Akbar, he went for hunting and he got lost. The troop, his soldiers, they got lost, and then Akbar, he was hungry and he was thirsty. And he saw a village. There was a smoke coming out. He saw a village, and Akbar went into that village. He went into that village and he knocked on the door of one of the resident there. And he told him that I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. And that resident, he was very kind. He invited Akbar inside the house and he offered him food, he offered him drink, and he offered him a resting place. It was night. Now, next day when Akbar was leaving, then Akbar asked him, do you want to know who I am? The farmer said, okay, you can tell me who you are. Akbar said, I'm the king. I'm the king of the whole. whole country. He said, oh. And then Akbar told him before leaving, if you ever need any help, you can come and see me. And then drought came. And then this farmer's wife told him, you had that king who came, and maybe you can go and ask him for some help. And he liked the idea. He said, okay, let me go. So he went, and on the door he was stopped. And he told the doorkeeper that I am from that village, but Akbar had come and stayed with us. So those doorkeepers, they laughed at him. He said, no, he came and stayed with us for one night. You please go and tell him. They went and told Akbar that there is a farmer has come and he says you stayed with them. Akbar said, yes, he's my friend, bring him in. So they brought him inside. Akbar gave him a room and he said, you are such a close friend, you stay with my room. Within my room, it was such a big hall. So that farmer stayed overnight. He said he was offered nice food and everything. Then next day, the farmer woke up and he saw Akbar standing up, going down, standing up, going down. He thought, what is he doing? And then farmer asked Akbar, what are you doing? And then Akbar said, look, I'm praying. He said, why do you pray? And what do you pray for? He said, yeah, I was praying to my God and I was asking for security. I was asking for army. I was asking for prosperity. He said, oh, even you have to ask for that. He said, yeah, I was doing that. And then the farmer straightway came back. He came back to his village. He did not ask anything from Akbar. He said, oh, nice meeting you. Thank you very much. Now I have to go back. Now, when he reached his village, his wife asked him, you had gone to ask for some help, but you came empty-handed. Why? And then he explained this to his wife. He said, I went there. I mean, it's very funny how in the village, my grandfather will say, wo kabhi khada ho jayega, kabhi mudha pad jayega, khada ho jayega, mudha pad. He will stand up, he will fall down, he will stand up. And, why you kar raha tha? That, Akbar ऐसे कर रहा था, तो उसके सामने से देखा और खड़ा हो जा, गिर जा, खड़ा हो जा, गिर जा. तो उसकी समझ में नहीं आई क्या हो रहा है. So this is how my grandfather explained to me. And then his wife asked, why didn't you ask for anything? He said, told me he's falling down, standing up, and he's praying and he's asking for something. Then he said, I thought if he also has to pray and ask, then why don't I pray to my Lord Ram and I can also ask from him? Why do I have to ask from him? I will also pray to my Supreme Lord and he will give me. If he has to pray, I will also pray. So with that is the mood. So here Naradji is bewildered. That who do you have to pray for? I thought you are the independent. You control everything. So now he asks his doubt. So Brahmaji then starts explaining, answering. So 6 questions. Please remember these 6 questions. Characteristics of the universe. What is its shelter? How is it created? How is it conserved? And what it depends on? And what it's composed of. So question number 2 and 5, they are almost same. Right? But other questions. So try to just if it doesn't register, that's fine. So he asked these questions and he thought about Brahma. He told what he thinks of Brahma. Now Brahmaji clarifies Narad's doubt and destroys his convictions. Now Brahmaji starts telling him, first of all, he says, you are very merciful to me. Because you have spoken such a nice things. Even though you have spoken, you think of me like that, but it will give me an opportunity to glorify the Supreme Lord. Bhagavad Virya Darshani. Because now I will be able to tell you who is actually my support. Who do I have to pray for? Right? I'm not independent. And then he starts telling him that I'm very merciful to you. You are merciful to me as well as other ones. Now all of us are hearing this pastime. Another example I want to share. Once it is said that there were few disciples and they were sitting in front of their guru. And you know how there are some chaplus type of disciples who like to butter the Guru Maharaj. And once they asked their Guru Maharaj, aap kaun hai? Who are you, Guru Maharaj? And then Guru said, you tell me what you think of. And then he said, Guru Maharaj, I think aap to Sakshat Parabrahman. You are the Parabrahm yourself. And then Guru said, right. Your knowledge of me is not wrong. तुमने जो मेरे बारे में कहा वो गलत हो ही नहीं सकता. You are the best disciple. See, like this these days, Gurus, this is how they act. Once there was Guru Purnima, lecture was going on, very important. And somebody was sitting on the Vyasasana and he started reciting the prayers, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. Prabhupada was outside and he said, who's this? And he chastised that person. He said, stop him. How can you compare Guru to Brahma and Vishnu? Brahma and Vishnu, they have a position. Guru have a position. But you can't say Guru is like that. So very important. If a Guru is trying to be Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, then you know where he's going to take you. Yeah. So Brahmaji told him, no, it gives me an opportunity to glorify Bhagavad Virya Darshane. And then he says, I am but a subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Somebody has typed something in the chat. Who's that? Okay. Very good question, Rashi Mataji. I will respond in the end. So, and then he says, I'm the subordinate to the Supreme Lord. He's beyond me and I only recreate. He says, I don't create, I just recreate. And people bewildered by Maya think of me as the Supreme and my obeisance is unto the Supreme Lord. So he says, I just recreate. Because Supreme Lord creates everything, I'm just recreating, even though it looks like that I'm the creator, but I'm simply recreating. So like this, Brahmaji responds to Naradji. So he explains his position, he explains the position of the Supreme Lord. And then after establishing Supreme Lord's position, now he starts clarifying the doubt and now he answers to Narad's question. So he responds to question number 1, 2, and 5. We will just look at it. So question number 1 was characteristics of the universe. So these are the five elements that Brahmaji tells him, that the Jeev, Dravya, Karma and Swabhav. With the Jiva, we are all Jivas. With the Jiva, Karma and Swabhav are related. Karma is your activities that you are performing. Yeah? And Swabhav is your desires. It is also understood Karma is what you deserve and Swabhav is what you desire. You know how we say, ye mere karma ka phal. So that's what you deserve. And Swabhav is what you desire. Right? And Karma, you performing the action. And then Kal, the time. Right? Everything is driven by the time. Right? And then Dravya is, it is the, we'll cover that also. So everything, so now characteristic of the universe, what Brahma is saying is that everything comes from Vasudev, right? And all of this, they are related to Vasudev, right? So everything comes from Vasudev. Vasudev is the supreme. Yeah? And then Yad Adhisthanam. Sorry, we're rushing through because we have to cover 2 chapters today. Right? And then Yad Adhisthanam, what is the shelter? And Yad Param, what it depends on. Question number 2 and 5. So he says Narayana, Narayana Paraveda, Deva Narayana Angaja, Narayana Paraloka, Narayana Paramakha, Narayana Param Jnanam. So he says, so he's describing, so the first he says, Narayan is the Para Yoga, Para Veda. So what it means is, the purpose of Veda is to know the Narayan. Or by studying the Vedas, whoever shelter you're going to take, that is the Narayan. Whatever is worth taking shelter of, that is the Narayan. Very clear? Vedeshta sarve ahameva vedyo. Bhagavad Gita 15.50. Lord Krishna is saying, the purpose of Veda is to know me. And by studying the Veda, whoever shelter you take, that the shelter of that shelter is Narayan. So Narayan is the shelter. Narayana Paraveda. And then Narayana Paramakha. Yeah? All the sacrifices are for Narayan. Is to please Narayan, all the sacrifice. By performing all the sacrifice, whichever planet you want to go, that is for Narayan also. That is also under the shelter of Narayan. Narayan Paraloka. All the planets are under the shelter of Narayan. So like this, he describes, then tapa, by all the austerity, Narayan is to be pleased, Narayan is to be served. Gati, the ultimate Gati destination, is to serve Narayan, be a subordinate to the servant of the Narayan. Yeah. Deva Narayana Angaja. All the demigods, they are the various body parts of Narayan because they serve, they help him maintains this universe. So they are the servants like that. Yeah. So what is the shelter? So the shelter of this universe is Narayan, right? And this whole universe depends on Narayan. Okay? So he has answered this question. Now, and then he says, Brahmaji says, Brahma and Lord. Now he clarifies. He says there is a Jeev Tattva, there is a Vishnu Tattva. So Brahmaji says, I am a Jeev Tattva. And he says, all these living entities, they are bewildered by Lord's Maya. They are within the three gunas. They are all conditioned. So he says, oh Narad, I am also one of those conditioned souls. Of all the conditioned souls, I am also one of those conditioned souls. So I am also Jeev Tattva. I am not that superior. So he says, I am also created by him. Yeah. And then he says, the transcendental Lord accepted the three gunas. He accepted these three modes of nature to create this. Like I remember that spider analogy. He creates but doesn't get entangled. Similarly, saying the God accepts three modes, he creates but he comes out of that. He is not entangled into that. He is aloof to this. And these gunas bind the jiva. Badanti nityadam uktam mayinam purusham guna. We are all Lord, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mamaya vansho jeev loke jeev bhut sanatana. We are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But we are what? We are vibhinnansh. Balramji is Swam Prakash. No, sorry, he is Vaibhav Prakash. Lord Krishna, just tying up, Lord Krishna, when he expands himself, Swam Prakash, the example is when he's doing Ras Leela. All of them, they are like Lord Krishna. Then there is Vaibhav Prakash. They have his Vaibhav, but they are different. Balramji is different. So like that, we are Vibhinna Ansh. Within Ansh, they have limited potential, right? Others, they have unlimited potential, but we have limited potential, even though we are his part and parcel. Right? So, but these gunas, because of these material modes, we are bound in this world. We perform various activities because we are bound by them. We are affected by these material modes. Sato gun, rajo gun, tamo. Yeah? You often yourself think sometimes you're doing something and we say, oh, in a fit of rage, I did something. Maybe I should not have done it. You all would have experienced that. Isn't it? You think, oh, bad thing. I should have controlled myself. That means you are under the influence of modes. And the only way to control that is by the right association. You are in the association of devotees, you are able to control that. Otherwise, no. Sangat se guna hota hai, sangat se guna jaat. Yeah. By the association, you get the guna. Okay. And then he says the jiva cannot see the Lord. Swa lakshita gati brahman sarve sham mam cha ishvara. So he says alakshit. You can't see the God. The jiva cannot. Even he himself is saying Brahman that even I cannot see the Lord because I am also jivata. So he's establishing. Look, Brahmaji, whose body is made of intelligence. You could have easily told Narad, whatever you are saying is perfect. your assessment about me is not wrong at all. You are a very good son. You are a very good student. Could have done that. His body is made of intelligence. He could have, however, he could have, spoken to Narji, but no. So he was mindful of his position. So those were the two questions answered. Now this is an interesting one. The creation of the universe. So let's look at this. So here we ties up yesterday what we discussed. So Karano Dakshaya Vishnu, the Lord Swamsh, his glance impregnates Jiva into the material nature. Okay. So Kal and by the time, right? So Jiva who has karma and swabhav, it gets influenced by the time, by the passage of time, as the things change, right? So Karana Dakshaya Vishnu, who is lying into the Karana ocean. From him, the various universes are coming. When he breathes out, the universes are coming out. Okay. So that universe, that Brahman, that Jagadand Sa Rom Kupa, right? Rom Kupa. ये जो रोए हैं, the hairs on your skin, they are called Rom Kup. Kup is called, well, Kuma. So on his skin, they are called Rom Kup. From the pores, the universes are coming out. These universes. big universes. Yeah. So they are coming out. So when that universe is coming out, it is called Pradhan. Okay. Now this whole universe. Okay. Once again, don't worry if you can't register, but at least we should get the idea of where we are staying. This is in Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj has asked this question. Narada has asked this question. So there is a reason for that, right? But the whole point of this, Prabhuji Mataji, at the end, if you can't understand, what we should understand is this is for us to understand the magnanimity of the Supreme Lord. You understand the point? In 10th chapter Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna concludes, after telling his opulences, then he tells Arjun, what is the need of knowing all this? Just know that Ekanshena Sthito Jagat. Just by one fraction of me, I'm holding this whole universe. Just by one fraction. Vistabhyam, I'm in the full universe. I exist within the whole universe. Right? Just by one. Ekanshena Sthito Jagat. I'm holding this universe. I am in this whole universe just by one part of me. So that is the whole point. We understand his magnanimity. We understand how big he is. He is called Vibhu and we are called Anu. Why is called Vibhu? So that is the whole point. Because we don't understand so easily. If somebody tells us you are big, we say, okay, show me how big you are. Right? कई बार क्या होता है, कोई हमसे कमजोर होता है, हम फैल जाते हैं. कोई हमसे स्ट्रांग मिला तो हम पिचक जाते हैं. अरे भैया ठीक है. Right? कमजोर हुआ तो चौड़े हो गए, स्ट्रांग हुआ तो फिर दब गए. This is human nature. This is animalistic. This is how animals behave. Isn't it? वही लोमड़ी है, कोई छोटा जानवर है, उसको दिखेगा कोई छोटा जानवर, she will jump on them. The moment she sees lion, she will become. So that's animal thinking. उसको किसका बल है? उसको अपने शरीर का बल है. लेकिन जो भक्त है उसको भगवान का बल. भगवान राम नारद जी को कहते हैं, मोरे प्रौढ़ तनय समज्ञानी बालक सुत्सम भक्त अमानी. राइट? मोरे प्रौढ़ तनय समज्ञानी, जो ज्ञानी है, जिनको अपने ज्ञान का बल है, आई कंसिडर देम माय ग्रोन अप चिल्ड्रन. और बालक सुत्सम दास अमानी, बट जो दास हैं, जिनको अहंकार नहीं है, उनको मैं छोटे बच्चे की तरह ट्रीट करता हूं. छोटे बच्चे को मां गोद में ले लेती है. राइट? अगर बच्चे को वहां, इफ यू थिंक देयर इज अ स्नेक coming towards the child, what will you do as a mother? Will you wait for the snake to stop? Will you say, oh no, you will go and run and pick up the child in your arms? So this is how Lord Ram is saying to Narad, balaka sutsam dasam. तो उनको मैं बच्चे की तरह रखता हूं. In that mood, yeah. So that is the point. You understand that Lord, Supreme Lord, is so big and we are nothing in front. That is the whole point. Yeah. Okay. So material nature is pradhan. Then three modes inactive. Okay, we'll just rush through these slides. Okay. So look at the left side. So how it works. The creation of the ingredients. So it is called Karan Shrishti. The universe hasn't been created. The living entities haven't been created. It is first the creation of the ingredient. How that happens. So this is how it happens. So first the Supreme Lord, he breathes out the Karanodakshaya ocean. So the Brahman comes out, the universe comes out, and with the Kal, Karma and Swabhav. So when he looks at it, he impregnates. The Karanodakshaya Vishnu, he impregnates that just by looking at that universe. He looks at the universe. Initially it is called Pradhan, and there are three modes which are in undifferentiated, unmixed state. Yeah. When he looks at it, and then Mahattat, Pradhan becomes Mahattat, which is in the Sattva. And then another portion of that is called Sutratat, which is in the mode of passion. Mode of passion, mode of goodness. And then it further becomes, gets split into three, which becomes Ahankar, which is predominantly in the Tamgun, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Like I said, don't worry if it doesn't register. That's fine. So this is how our bodies are created. And then from goodness comes the Jnana Shakti. from passion comes Kriya Shakti, from ignorance comes Dravya Shakti. Okay? And then Jnana Shakti is Adhidevik, Kriya Shakti is Adhyatma, and then Dravya Shakti is Adhibhut. From Jnana Shakti comes mind and 10 sense devtas. So our mind and the 10 sense devta. All the senses they have a demigods. Then from Adhyatma we have Pran, 10 senses, intelligence. Pran, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Right? Knowledge acquiring senses, that's where the intelligence works on the knowledge acquiring sense. It controls that. 5 kaun se knowledge acquiring senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. Right? So knowledge acquiring senses. And 5 working senses. So Pran, one day you fast, you feel weak next day. So that means Pran has gotten weak. You take some food, it is like putting some fuel into your body, and then body charges up, and then you can work. Yeah? So like this. Then 5 tanmatras and 5 gross elements. So 5 object of the senses and the 5 gross elements like Agni, Jal, Vayu, Prithvi, Akash. Okay. And then these are the sense devtas, as you can see. So eyes, Surya, skin, Vayu, nose, Ashwini Kumar, tongue, Varun. So they are all demigods. Now what has happened is all of these things are created, and they are lying in a, there is no action. They are lying in a dormant state. So sometimes whenever you think doing something with your body, or if you are unhappy with someone else and you think of something, doing something with them or with their body, then think of this state. That will clarify the whole thing. This is how our bodies were created, and this is what the state will be. We'll get into when we go through the creation again. So all these demigods, Prabhuji, Mataji, they go and they pray to the Supreme Lord. Nothing has been created yet. As created as in, these are created. It's like you making a vegetable, making a sabji. So aloo has been cut, the tomato has been cut, the green chili has been cut, the spice have been put, but everything is lying unmixed. Yeah, in that state. And this is how then the next thing happens. So from sound, so the first thing comes sound. From sound comes ether. Right? From ether comes touch. Then from touch comes air. Then from air comes form, the shape. And from shape comes fire. Then comes taste. From taste comes water. And from water comes smell. From smell comes earth. Don't worry if you can't register, but this is important to understand. Like I said, if you understand, then we can appreciate, because for it takes as simple as eating. Sometimes somebody was telling me we think of our body as a dustbin. Just put everything, anything inside this. No, we should honor the prasadam. Bunjate te tum agham papam. Ye pachante atma karana. If you are not honoring eating prasadam, then you are just eating sins. You are throwing sins inside your body. No. See, there are sense devtas inside your body. This is how your body has been created, right? Because the Supreme Lord passed on the energy, and then, but we just forget. We start eating anything, drinking anything, no control, just, so we have to watch out. So that one was creation of the ingredients, right? Now the next stage of creation happens. As long, so there were those 23 elements, and they are not assembled, so bodily form cannot take place. So those 23 elements are sitting. Mahat Tattva, Ahankar, 5 sense objects, gross element, 11 senses. It is in an unmixed state. So bodily forms cannot take place. So like I said, think of a sabji. You're preparing that. Now, how does it happen? Now, this is one last activity by Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Right? What he does is, when the elements became assembled by the Lord's compacting energy, they create the universal foetus. Tada samhatya cha anyonya bhagavat shakti chodita. Now, Karanodakshaya Vishnu, this is the last activity before Garbhodakshaya Vishnu takes over. Okay? All these elements are created, and then with his cohesive energy, he combines all of them. Right? He is combined, but still there is no chetna. There is still no activity. Right? Now he enters Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He enters. Thus all the universal remained for 1,000 years. These elements are created. They have been combined. They are mixed up, but you are lying in a dormant state. Lying in a dormant state. Now the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he takes over. All the universes remain for 1,000 years floating on the causal ocean. And the Lord Mahavishnu entering in each of them as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu assumed the Virat root with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, and heads. So this is what I was trying to link to Puruṣa-sūkta confirmed. Like I was saying, in South India, they recite Puruṣa-sūkta prayers. Right? Now, as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters, he is assumed to be thousands of arms, thousands of hands. Prabhu, you know, in South India, they recite Puruṣa-sūkta prayers. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so it's from the Rig Veda. So this is where now it comes to, I said in the beginning that Prabhupada has titled this chapter as Puruṣa-sūkta confirmed, which is the next chapter. And why he titled Puruṣa-sūkta confirmed? What happens is, initially, so there are two sources of knowledge, Shruti and Smriti. Shruti are Vedas and Smriti are Puranas, right? So they say initially, people who picked up who got the mic first, basically, they strongly believed in the Shrutis, not in the Smritis. Because Smriti, they said there is still some chance of mistake. Because it is based on the remembrance, right? Smriti is remembrance, something that is passed on by remembering. But they considered Veda to be the supreme. So so this Puruṣa-sūkta prayers is from Vedas. Rig Veda, it is there in the Rig Veda. So they would recite these prayers. But now, when they're reciting these prayers, you see in Lord Shiva temples, they're also reciting, Vishnu temples, they are reciting. So they don't know who is that Purush. Right? So there was a confusion. Who is that Purush? Right? Even, Adi Shankaracharya follows Shivites, they say he's Lord Shiva. Who are following Vishnu, they say he's Vishnu. Both of them are reciting those prayers. But in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other acharyas who have done their commentary on this. So in this chapter, 6th chapter, now there are ditto verse to verse comparison. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he has compared that this verse in the 6th chapter is equivalent to this verse from Rig Veda, which were reciting Puruṣa-sūkta prayers. So what they are trying to establish is that this Purush, this Sahasra Aksha, Sahasrapada, this Purush is none other than Vishnu. So that is why Prabhupada has titled this chapter Puruṣa-sūkta confirmed. That person is none other than the Vishnu. So that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he is Vishnu. But other people, they say no, he's. But anyway, we don't want to get into that argument. Right? But just so you know why the chapter is titled like that. Okay. So after thousands of years inactivity, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters the universe and enlivens it, and then he expands into the universe like Virat Purush. And then there are different, description of the Virat Purush. They say that, in terms of planetary system, Satyalok is his head, Tapalok is his breast, Janalok is his neck. So the whole Purush, and we look at the picture. There is another, imagination that Swarglok, his chest to head, Naval is his Bhurlok, and Bhulok are his legs. In terms of Varnas, they say Brahmanas, they are coming from the mouth of that Supreme Vishnu. Kshatriya are his arms, and Vaishyas are his thighs, and Shudras are his legs, like this. Okay. So this is the Purush. If you look at the picture, right, on your left hand side. So this is that Purush, and he has thousands of arms, thousands of legs, thousands of heads, right? So, and this is the Rig Veda prayer on the right hand side, as you can see. That's how it is described, but that is the reason. And so Brahmaji now concludes this chapter. He says he is the cause of all causes, and he has answered 3 questions. He has described Yad Rupam. What is the root? So he has described that everything comes from Vasudeva. Yad, and then Yad Adhishtanam and Yad Param. So that is Narayan. So he has answered those 3 questions. So 3 questions have been answered, and finally answered how it is created. So this is the creation process. He has explained that also. It's okay, you can't register, but like I said, the important point to understand is that Supreme Lord, we can't even comprehend. Right? We can't comprehend how he operates. And now then Brahmaji goes to next chapter. So in this chapter, Prabhuji Mataji, there are 6 sections. So Brahmaji now answers question 6. Yacha, the Lord is the material cause and effective cause of the universe. What is it made of? Yeah. And then he talks about Ek Pada Vibhuti and 3 Pada Vibhuti. We'll talk about that also. And then Brahma's testimony that the Lord is the material cause. And then he answers 2 and 5 again. And then he says it is not possible to completely know the Supreme Lord. Finally, he says, after describing the creation, after answering his questions, and then he also says it is not easy to know. Even I don't know. I've shared with you whatever I heard. Even I don't know. So the point is, sometimes we want to know. We say, I want to understand. Right? But the point they say is, the Supreme Lord, he will give you knowledge so that you can know him yourself. He will reveal to you. Prabhupada used the word reveal to you. He will be revealed from inside. But if you're trying to learn him by challenge, if you're trying to learn him by cause and effect, he's beyond cause and effect. That's what Brahmaji is now going to conclude. So he's trying to establish that. He's trying to, close that argument. And mind you, we are only the 2nd canto. The way in the future cantos, so that's what Shukdev Goswami is doing through this process. He's trying to establish the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. And then he will get into the past times. Because you cannot appreciate the past times until you understand how big, how great my Lord is. Right? And especially when we are in the Jiva Tattva, when we are trying to find logic for everything. Yeah? So he says it is not possible to completely know the Lord. Brahma describes the original creator, Mahavishnu, and then he describes that. So, okay. So, Yacha, what is it composed of? Ingredients. The Lord is both the material cause and effective cause of the universe. So, what is the material cause? Garbhodakshaya Vishnu's limb provide the ingredients of the universe. Now, that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, that Purush that we saw, picture, he provides. So now the question, what is the question? What are the ingredients of this universe? So he is providing that. So 7 dhatus, the 7 Vedic meters. You know how we're reciting the shlokas, there are different meters. But here he's saying the 7 dhatu are of his body, supreme skin, the covering of the skin. Then the skin itself. Then inside the skin you have blood. Then flesh, bone marrow. So like this, the 7 coverings of that Supreme Lord. Very, very deep. But once again, keep that in mind. The focus is we want to appreciate how big the Supreme Lord is. We cannot know him from our tiny intelligence. That is the fact that we want to establish among all of us, right? And that's what Shukdev Goswami is doing. So body, the active principles of everything. The hair and beard of the Supreme Lord constitute the clouds. When you see the clouds, you should see, oh, these are the hairs of the Supreme Lord. That's the Purush, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Yeah. Then his nails, lightning and minerals and metals, they are his nails. Once again, arms, the Lokpals who protect the people, Kshatriya, like you say, the steps. So these three planetary system, Bhur, Bhuva, Swar. We do the Gayatri mantra, Om Bhur, Bhuva, Swar. Yeah. So that is what? Bhur, Bhuva, Swar. Bhulok, Bhuvarlok, Swarglok. These are the 3 steps of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. His lotus feet are protection and bestower of all desires. His back is frustration and ignorance and immortal. If you are getting frustrated, if you are being ignorant, then you are looking at the back of the Supreme Lord. You have to go and stand in front of him. Then everything will be fixed. If you are frustrated, go and stand in front of him. Yeah. Veins, his veins are rivers. You see all these rivers? Imagine how you see your veins, the blood is flowing through your veins. These rivers are his veins, the Supreme Lord. His bones are mountains. His belly is ocean. Juice in food. Pradhan, destruction. Everything goes inside his belly. When the destruction happens, we all go inside. Right? When he even during the partial dissolution. Partial dissolution, when Brahmaji's night come, all the 3 planets up to Swarglok, everything gets destroyed. Everything. The above Swarg is the Maharlok. The resident of Maharlok feel the heat. It is said then they go to the next level. The living entities there, they don't die, they still stay. But everything up to the heavenly planets destroyed, burned down. Thousands of years when Brahmaji is sleeping. So where do we go? Because it burns, we go back inside in the dormant state. And then after that, when Brahmaji gets up again, his morning, then he starts the creation again. Then we again start coming up. Okay. Then his heart is the mind, consciousness, dharma of everyone, truth and knowledge. Again, same point, keep that focus. It is everything coming from him. And then Brahmaji says, I, Shiva and other living entities and whatever existed in the past, present and future is covered by the universal form of the Lord. Think of it there. I mean, if this whole universe, none other than the Supreme Lord. That's it. Everything is covered by him. So this is Brahmaji's statement. Past, present and future also. Even though he hasn't seen the future. Although the Lord is transcendental, all of them, he extends beyond the universe by 10 fingers. This is very interesting. This is actually, this is called Dash Ungal Nyaya. Yeah. Extends, you know how the 7 layers, right? So we have water, and then beyond water, fire, 10 times higher than fire. Right? And then Akash, 10 times. So this is what they call Dashungal Nyaya. Right? So whatever is the water component, we looked at one of the, I think, first chapter when we were doing 2.1, we saw those 7 layers. So this universe, and it is covered by these 7 layers outside. So this is how it is so tightly, tightly formed. If you try to get out of it, you have to really perform some strong austerities, right? It's not so easy to get out. And he extends beyond universe by 10 fingers. And then, so he is the material cause, and he is also the effective cause. The Lord also acts as the effective cause by energizing the universe both from inside and outside. So initially, we looked at, he created those 23 elements unmixed state. They were lying in a dormant state, but he also energized them, right? And once they are energized, then so you are running, you have that Paramatma effect inside you, right? Or the soul which is connected to the super soul. Once the soul leaves the body, then it's a dead body, isn't it? So this is Brahmaji explaining to him. And then he says, Lord of both the worlds. And then now he goes to Ekpad and Tripad. So let's look at that. So again, an important factor, don't try to measure it. Basically, what it is said is that this material world is 1/4. If you look at the whole creation, spiritual world and material world combined together, divided into 4 parts. So material world or material universes are the 1/4 and everything else is 3/4. Which includes Vaikuntha planets, the spiritual world, the Golok, all of Krishna's Dham. So this is and this universe is called Ekpad, 1 step, and everything else is 3 pad. So here now Brahmaji is explaining to Narad that the cycle of birth or death is present in Ekpad, because we are in Ekpad, but in the 3 pad spiritual world, there is no cycle of birth and death. The resident of Ekpad, like us, we are Grahmedis, Abhrid Vratas. We take vows, we don't follow the vows, we break the vows. Abhrid Vratas. But in the 3pad, there is no birth again. Yeah. Lord's inclinations. We are not inclined to the Lord. We like to challenge the Lord. But in the 3pad, they are more inclined to the Lord. Right? Vaikuntha planets, Golok planet, they always want to serve. They have full faith, full trust, no question. Right? Fear, we are always fearful, no matter how much money you have. I was just reading, I think recently they're trying to now arrest, the FBI raided the ex-president of America's homes. Think of it. And he is saying, I declassified those documents. You know the argument I was reading, so funny. As a president, you can declassify anything. So they raided his home and they took away X number of bags or something that were document. But what they're saying is the argument is, he says, I declassified them because as a president, he can declassify anything. He said, I declassified before I took them my home. They say, no, you can declassify, but you did not follow the process to declassify them. So they are raiding his house now. So fear. Always that fear is there. And what to speak of us? Nothing. We just go, oh, you cross 50, policemen will come, Sometimes we drive in a 60 zone on 70. No, nobody is there, but then we are fearful. Koi camera to nahi tha. Was there any camera? Did I make a mistake? I have this friend, he told me, Prabhuji, he said, Prabhu, I will actually drive back. He has crossed the traffic light. He says, Prabhu, I will drive back to check koi camera to nahi tha. Mujhe pakad to nahi liya. He has already driven, but he will go back to check, was there a camera? To that extent, we are always fearful. Yeah. Forgetfulness, it's always there because avidya, souls less in numbers. The Sandhini manifested. Sandhini is the existing. As you say, Sat Chit Anand. Sandhini is more about the creation of the existence. So 1/4 is here and 3/4, like I said, Tripada. And Sat Chit Anand, we can experience meager, and there it is full. Very often we say, Arey Prabhu, I am in so much bliss. I went to Vrindavan, bas mein to dham mein pahunch gaya hu. No. We really get tested when somebody hurts our ego a little bit. Then we just throw everything out. It's like baby throwing the toys out of the pram. We throw everything out of the pram. So it's always there. Yeah. So Brahmaji tells him 1 pad, 3 pad, right? And whom are they meant for? The path of enjoyment and liberation. So Brahmaji explains to him that who are 3 pad, who are 1 pad. He differentiates that. And then he explains that there are 2 paths, path of enjoyment, nivritti marg and pravritti marg. Pravritti is bhog and nivritti is tyag, right? So there is 1 marg. Nivritti marg goes upwards, pravritti marg goes downwards. You're trying to do bhogas. Right? And then he says, Lord, but despite that, he says, the Lord is shelter for both the paths. Lord is there for both. It will take time. But at the same time, he says, the Supreme Lord is aloof. He is aloof from all of this. Yeah? Then finally, Brahmaji tells that he substantiates from his own experience that the Supreme Lord is the material cause of this universe. He says, when I was born out of the lotus, which came from the navel of the Supreme Lord, Brahmaji says, I did not see anyone. I wanted to perform the yajna. And to perform the yajna, he says, I could only see that Purush, no one else. And I could only perform yajna, the kshetra, the place, onto his body only. Because he's all pervading. Then he says, I needed the ingredients for the yajna, for the sacrifice. So I prayed to that Supreme Lord, and from him only I got that. So he says, I got all the ingredients from his body. Then I performed the yajna ceremony on his body, or the place that I got from him. This is how I performed the ceremony. And then he says, Narad, then your 9 brothers. Then your 9 brothers, for them also, when they were performing the yajna ceremony, they also pleased that Supreme Lord. From him only they got everything. So he's once again establishing that experience, his own experience, the Supreme Lord is the material cause of the universe. Then he shelter of the universe, Narayan, dependence of the universe. He says all of us depend on the Narayan. Right? When the annihilation happens, we goes back into him. I hold Lord Hari in my heart with great zeal. And then he says, oh my dear Narad, my words are true only because I'm fully dependent on Krishna. Whatever I say doesn't become false because I'm relying on Krishna. Understand? Because I consider him to be the supreme, I'm always glorifying him with them. So, sometimes you say, my intelligence. He's saying, no. Brahmaji is saying, no, nothing. Because I'm totally relying on it, so my words become true. Yeah, I can't understand the Lord. He says, even though the Vedas, I'm the source of the Vedas, all the Vedas, Chaturmukh, all the Vedas are coming, even the Lord, Supreme Lord gave it to him, but they came from Brahma, right? So Brahma says, even though the Vedas came from me, even though all the Prajapatis come and go down to me, even though I am the incarnation of intelligence itself, even though I am born from the body of the Supreme Lord, I still cannot understand. Now what to speak of us? We challenge, right? We want to understand. Jawab do. Why has it happened to me? Why is this? No, you can't understand. So this is the reinforcement that Brahmaji is doing. And through Shukdev Goswami is doing Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj asked this question for our benefit only. So we get this point reinforced. Only then you can appreciate the Ras Leela. Otherwise, he is about to die. Parikshit Maharaj, by the time Shukdev Goswami started talking about Ras Leela, the 4 days had already gone. He had 3 days to die. Do you think he is telling him Ras Leela for any other purpose? Lord Krishna is dealing with the gopis. Is he telling for that purpose? Lord Krishna stealing the clothes of the gopis. Is it for that purpose? No, we cannot understand because our mind is not there. You get the point? So it is the reinforcement of that thought that he is the Supreme Lord. He is beyond the understanding concept. Let's not try to understand from our own intelligence. That is the real key message, Prabhuji. Yeah, we cannot. We just glorify him. We just appreciate him. Right? We just fall in the line. No question asked. So he says, even I can't understand. Even the Lord is unable to estimate what to speak of my understanding, Shiva's understanding, or your understanding. Even the Supreme Lord himself cannot, estimate what his glories are. It is like a sky. The sky cannot tell how far it is and how far back it is. So this is Brahmaji. How can we understand? And then he says, I, Shiva, and you cannot ascertain the limits of the spiritual happiness, then what to speak of other demigods? And what to speak of us? Yes? So like this, he has answered. And finally, he answered question number 4. Yat samstham. So he says, conservation of dissolution Mahavishnu creates. So he says, this universe is created by the Supreme Lord himself, then it is maintained by himself, and then it is annihilated within himself. He himself does all these 3 things. I was reading Srila Prabhupada purport. Very important point that I picked up was that very often Prabhupada gave an example. If you are building a house, okay, step back. There are 3 deities. Who is responsible for creation? Who creates? हाँ करते हैं, but in our knowledge, Brahmaji, yes, yeah. Brahmaji creates. Who annihilates? Shambhu, yeah. Tapabal Shambhu karai sanghara, yeah. And Tapabal Vishnu sakal jag trata. Who maintains? Vishnu maintains. So Srila Prabhupada says that if a rich man, you have a house, let's say, if you are building a house, so who will demolish the old house? You will hire someone to demolish the old house. You will hire somebody to build the new house. But to look after that house and to maintain the house, who will do that? You will do that yourself. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada says that the Supreme Lord, he engages Brahma to create. He engages Lord Shiva to annihilate, but he himself takes charge of maintenance. See? He himself is maintaining you all. So while he's maintaining you all, now we should understand how fortunate we are that he's maintaining. Now it is up to us, while he's maintaining us, while you are alive, how we conduct ourselves, how we behave, because always have that faith that he's maintaining us. Right? But once we stray away, then Shambhu takes control. And then Brahma takes control of creation, which is based on your karma. Even though the Brahmaji says, I just recreate, it is already created by Vishnu. But the point to understand is that Vishnu maintains that. Yeah. And then finally, Brahmaji now concludes that none of the material things are Lord's Swarup. Very important. None of the material things are Lord's Swarup. Anyone from Brahma to insect, but are only a fragment of his transcendental potential, including himself, he's saying. Right? And then Brahmaji concludes this chapter and he says, now I will describe you the Leela avatars which are composed of Chitta Shakti. Sat, Chit and Anand. Remember that. Right? Sat is also Sandhini Shakti, which is creation. Right? Now he's going to talk about the Chit Shakti, which is knowledge, which is Gyan. Right? And then once you get that, then you enjoy the bliss. So now the Leela Avtaras, basically, he's going to describe what is the reason for their avatar, what pastime did they perform. Right? Now you understand this, now you can appreciate the pastimes. Now you won't see a pig in Varaha Avatar. You won't see a pig in Varaha Avatar. You will see he's so beautiful, the Supreme Lord. Right? That is the mood. When Narsimha Bhagavan comes, you won't be scared. You become like Prahlad Maharaj. Like the Supreme Lord put his hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head. Yeah. So like this. So we'll stop now. Yeah. So there was one question asked by Rashi Mataji. I'll just answer that and then we'll stop. So yes, Mataji, you're right. But Naraji is doing this pastime for our benefit. Yeah. He does not have any doubt when Naraji himself is going around singing Śrīmad-Narayana, Narayana, Narayana, Śrīmad-Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. When he himself is glorifying Narayan, he does not have any doubt. But he is asking this question on purpose, right? I mean, he knows where Brahma has come from. He himself knows that when he's singing Narayan's glory, how can he ask Brahmaji that who is Narayan? Why didn't he ask him who is Narayan? But he is, a role. He's a pastime. He's asking that question. Okay, Mataji, I hope that helps. So we will stop now. Today we are doing Jhulan here. We have Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Bhagwan, Kripal Prabhuji has so nicely decorated the Jhula. So we'll stop. We will leave you, everyone who is online. Please, we pray for you and we'll think of you while we are, swinging the Supreme Lord. Okay, Kavita Mataji, Seema Mataji, we'll take your leave now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, can we have the darshan of the Jhula?
Mataji, let me see how. Yes, Kripal Prabhuji. Just one sec, Mataji, we'll take the Zoom.